Game design, what's the point? Now, the question I've got is why is game design so often maligned by others involved in game development? Do you guys kind of agree with that statement? I mean, is that
I
what to
definitely
say?
see it. Yeah,
You do see it, okay?
I
yeah,
think it probably comes down to like a case by case basis.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you've got lots of ideas but not really like the follow through or know how to execute them,
The
that could
classic,
be
the
that.
ideas man.
Yeah,
The number of people, the number of times I've seen on Reddit, someone, man or woman, jump on there and say, "Oh, I've got, $1 million idea for a game or it used to be an app, when apps were really new, or an app, and it's like, and I'll share the profits with you if you build it for me," and they just get slammed by all the developers out there who the developers, they know how difficult it is to actually develop and create something. So you're saying, Sam, that's interesting. So you're saying, in a way, that game design is sort of seen as the ideas person in a
yeah.
negative sense?
I mean, it probably does ultimately come down to the individual.
Mm-hmm.
Where if you have all the ideas and you want them done, you know, for
For free.
for for free,
Yeah.
I can
or
say as a programmer, I can definitely feel it sometimes. Like you're trying to rein the designer in without getting too wild of the ideas. And it's like, okay, there's what we can do, and there's what we would like to do. They're very different things.
Mm. Mm.
Not that's not a negative thing at all, though. To me, at least, I think that's quite like interesting and fun trying to find the happy medium.
Fraser's been quite quiet.
I think you can see some interesting, some pull some insights if you look at similar dynamics in other fields. I think the classic example we go to is architects versus the actual construction team. Um, they sort of have different points of views on the project that's being made, and so I think understandably, that can lead to some differences. Um, I think it's understandable, how that dynamic can happen, and why designers might often get lumped in with this sort of group of unrealistic big thinkers. Um, it makes sense. Obviously, it's not helpful. We all need to get along and work together to make things happen. But I understand it.
I think you said it in another stream, Chris, actually, though, like designers, a really good part of designers is that they push the limits.
Mm-hmm.
If only programmers built things, would only make things that we know we can make,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yep.
And the designer like often thinks of a new idea to then challenge the people who actually sort of build the fundamentals, which
Sure.
which rung really true to me at least.
You've experienced that, have you, Charlie?
Oh well, as you want to make code and systems that will function and work, but as you push the boundaries and ultimately get better at your own skill, you do find you can do things, but it might not be at the level or like at the satisfaction level that you want, and that there's probably some bugs lingering in there.
Sure.
But
And
that's
what about your designers who come up and say, can you do X, Y, Z, and like you've never done it before? It's like, I mean, that gives you a bit of a challenge too, doesn't it? As a coder.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that's what I'm trying to allude to. It's being presented with challenges to
Mm.
overcome, which
Mm.
is good in all walks of life for learning.
So I've got a few questions here. Some of them we probably kind of covered, but they're really just to get some. These are some of the things that I've heard, like people who say, "Oh, it's particularly the hardcore coding types who are a little more." I don't know. For some reason, they seem to be a little harder on that. So saying things like,
Mm.
do game designers? I mean, it's a good question. Do game designers really do anything? And there's the next one. Really, what's the job of a game designer? You can sort of lump these into the thing.
Yeah.
What do game
I,
designers do?
I mean, to me, a game designer really excels at those, the abstract thought and ideas and sort of piecing things together.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is a skill to have, and it's not something that we all have for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like a good game designer to really piece together ideas and flesh out mechanics is absolutely needed. So game designers do things.
So
They
what,
might
what
not
are those
be.
what are those skills though? You sort of alluded a couple of things. I mean, like, can't anyone do that sort of stuff? Fleshing out mechanics. I
Yeah,
mean,
but it's critical thinking, isn't it? It's
is it?
you can have an idea, but then piecing it all together is another skill itself. Well, I think it is, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um,
Well, I guess being able to see the bigger picture based on all the parts,
Mm-hmm.
hmm.
Yeah.
and it's hard to do. Like if you have like a simple card game mechanic, I mean, a good designer would. How can you make like a simple mechanic entertaining and
Mm,
engaging for the audience?
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I've often said, and you guys have probably heard me say this. I think design tends to be a big picture activity, if you like. Whereas coding, to be a good coder, and like I consider myself to be a sort of a middling coder because I am kind of more big picture. But coding, if you're a really good coder, you're going to be a detail person, which means you might find it actually quite hard to look at the big picture. But good coding requires, looking really in detail at what's going on in that code. You've got to be able to do that. If you find that difficult to do, which means you're more of a big picture person, then you're maybe not such a great coder. But if you're a detail person, it's hard. I think it's hard to be a good designer of products, if you like.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, going further from that, like coders, we see the end picture, but it's our job to sort of go step by step to get there.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just focused on, a very short and small segment of the overall problem.
Mm-hmm. Fraser's still being very quiet in the background there.
Yeah.
Let's say anything.
Lost in thought.
No, I mean, it's there is a good healthy dose of sort of that imposter syndrome, where it's like any opinions I have could be, reflected poorly, or maybe I'm just saying things to try and validate myself. So it's really easy just to let you guys talk about it. But I like and yeah, I mean, Chris and I have talked about it before, but I do really think it's about perspective. I think a good designer, their job is basically to be trying to keep everything in their line of sight and make sure things are all connected and functioning and working in harmony. And I think, that's not necessarily, a skill you either have or you don't, but I think the role of a designer, they should be sitting in that for a long time. Like, you kind of need to be really used to looking at things from that perspective. That's when you can sort of start to have a lot of those moments in design where things start clicking and you start seeing this connected web instead of individual elements. And so yeah, I guess it's like, I think anyone can do it, but it's important to have it as a role so that you can have a group of people who are constantly in that state and they're closer to finding the connections.
I don't necessarily agree that anyone can do it. I've certainly got friends who are very, very uncreative and are quite upfront with their lack of creativity. So I'm not sure that anyone can actually, just anyone can do it. I think there is both a what would you call it, a potential. So like having the sort of potential, and then building on that as well, and refining that skill and that ability. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, I guess for me, I feel like, yeah, you can definitely have like an affinity for it. You definitely have people who are, whether they're grown up or the genetics just lend themselves that way. But I don't know, I feel like I've been seeing so many good tools and resources and ways to think in a design process that to me, it's starting to feel like you kind of have to actively not want to engage to not be able to even do start thinking with that designing perspective.
Okay, I think that's one of the questions that's coming up.
Uh-oh.
So hold that thought. So this is the other one I come up with as well, and I guess we've touched on this, but more. This is even like, this is not just random people. These are comments that I've had from people high up in gaming studios that I've talked to over the years, and that's programming skills are more important than game design skills in game development. I've had people saying they would not employ someone who did not have programming skills, even in a design role.
Right.
Any thoughts?
It would help to have a bit of programming knowledge to sort of give a estimation on how long it might take to do your ideas.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, from a programmer's perspective, you can code the most sort of elegant code solutions in the world. But if it's not fun, it's not fun.
But my code's beautiful. Why do you not like my game?
It runs so smoothly.
Yeah, it's so well optimized. It's like, surely you're gonna love it.
Yeah, no, I completely disagree with this statement. I mean, like, it rings true if you want a bit more job security. Just as you were saying, that the people higher up saying they would more likely hire someone with programming skills over just game development. But I know, just as you said, Sam, plenty of programmers who have made games, and I've tested them for them, and I'm just like, you haven't, like, there's no design in this. I can see some mechanics that plays well, but yeah, the design, I guess, is where that fun comes in. It's game development is a marriage of both of these skills that are as important as each other.
So these are games that, I mean, who are these people that, like, are these just random people that you?
You want me to throw some people in the fire?
No, I don't. But I guess you've played their games. I mean, I'm just kind of wondering where they've come from. Are they just sort of randos that have, hey, I'm going to make a
like,
game.
People I've through my time at uni.
Okay. So people learning. I mean, that's
people learning, exactly,
Yeah.
And you can really identify someone who has that affinity for design or making an experience versus someone who's just like really good at coding and may not be able to see that bigger picture of why it's not, in this case, fun, which is totally fine as well. Which is why both disciplines are needed.
Fraser, I've got to jump to you and say, I mean, what's your thoughts?
I do think you could argue that, like, technically programming skills are more important, purely from like a logical point of, if you have programming skills and no design skills, you might get lucky and accidentally make a fun game. But I don't think I've ever known a designer who accidentally managed to program something.
Accidentally programmed a game.
Yeah.
Whoops.
But I mean, then we're talking about, what does it mean to be more or less important? I think, definitely both are helpful. And, I think it goes both ways, right? Like, it's really helpful as a designer to have programming skills, even for me if it's in blueprints, because I can test my own ideas and prototype. And like you said, Sam, like, I have a better idea of how my ideas are going to flesh out, how long they might take, and that sort of stuff. And in the same way, I assume like a programmer probably could benefit from having some design skill, because they might know how to interpret a design document better, or be able to be have a little bit of insight into some of the choices that are being made, or they might need to make. So
absolutely,
I think you hit the nail on the head there for me. And I think as a designer, I think you have to have at least prototyping skills. Now, if that means blueprints in Unreal Engine or some other visual scripting, you have to be able to test your ideas. You have to be able to put some kind of prototype together to sort of see whether things work. So when it comes to programming, I don't think every designer needs to be a programmer, but I think every designer needs to have at least enough knowledge to put together some kind of prototype to test their ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's like management positions, good leadership roles have good base understanding of each section that they're overlooking, so they can sort of better manage it and handle timelines and understand how things go together.
Yep. Yeah, there's that. There's definitely that side as well. So Fraser, again, just I mean, tell me the story about how you learnt how to do your blueprint scripting. What motivated you to do that? And we've got Crash Test Butters here. Hey,
Welcome.
welcome.
Hey, welcome back.
Hello.
Yeah, so I at Torrens Uni, being a part of the game design course, most of the other students I spent a lot of time with in class and on assignments was other game design students. So when it came time to making a game prototype, all of the people I knew I worked well with were all other designers, no programmers. So it was mostly just out of desperation and, making that. It was sort of a choice in, do I want a group who I know I can communicate with and will get along with, or do I want a group that's more balanced for skills but will maybe ghost me a few weeks in, or
Ooh.
be unresponsive when this deadline comes
Ooh.
up. So it was just a bit of a sink or swim moment where I was like, well, somebody's got to do the programming. I might as well give it a go.
So there's things I want to dive into there, which are really interesting. But so you didn't have any programming skills at that time. How did you find? What did you do first? Tell me. Yeah. Okay. What was the first thing you did?
So technically, I mean, I have a background in maths from high school, and I have always had an interest in like computer science. So I know, the sort of like very, very fundamental ideas of programming in the sense of how a computer interprets code and, how you sort of need to structure things. But yeah, I mean, going in, it was a case of I did a two-person project where the other person was working in Construct, which is another blueprints program, and I was having all ideas on how to, small things we could add or change to this little project to make it more engaging, and they were like, "Wait, what do you mean? How do I do that?" And I'm on the Discord call pointing at things. I'm like, "I think if you put this in here," and so. Yeah, I kind of got lucky when then in the next project I was like, well, I felt like I knew what I was doing from the other side of a Discord call, so I might as well pick it up and have a go. And then, yeah, Blueprints just had a sort of connection with
With your designer brain? Is that a good way
Yeah.
to put it? Yeah. I mean, I have to say, I think I've said this to you guys multiple times, but I certainly see designers designers and artists both warming more to visual scripting, which is what Blueprints is. Blueprints is a type of visual scripting in Unreal, compared to programmers. There seems to be something to do with the way that people think that makes visual scripting far more accessible to them. So I just to sort of I'm interested to know. So after doing starting that visual scripting stuff, like how difficult was it to do, and how difficult was it when you first started out?
Yeah, I mean, thinking back to Construct, the benefit for that was that it was all 2D. So, with one fewer dimensions, there's, a bit of a lighter load. It was tough though, understanding just like how things lay out. It's one thing to understand what a node does and, when you'd use it, but like figuring out how to connect it and actually make it function was another thing. But I think because I started in Construct, which was quite simpler and more approachable, the next few months later, when I said I would do the programming in Unreal Engine, it was a decent step from one to the next.
Okay. And how did you find that process of learning Blueprints in Unreal Engine?
It is sometimes really good and sometimes really bad.
Okay, fair enough.
Sometimes things are really well documented, or there's lots of really comprehensive guides and tutorials on YouTube, and sometimes there's one page of documentation which doesn't even reflect the actual information I'm looking at in my editor.
I think Sam and Charlie would probably agree that that's an experience we all have. No,
Yeah.
you've had those experiences where, I mean, some things, yeah, sure, they're all, it's all nicely there. You go to a website, you just copy and paste the code. Yeah, no worries, there it is. Then you have to do something yourself. It's a bit hard. It gets harder.
Even things like
I was thinking more of like documentation. I feel like I'm always coming up against trying to go into the documentation. It's either just not updated or it's just wrong.
Well, they change game engines so often, like both Unreal and Unity. I mean, I've done the same with when I did some Unity stuff, and I don't have a lot of experience in Unity. And like depending on the version you bloody have, like it's different. So that's one of the challenges I think in any IT thing, but particularly games, because there's a new version coming out every month or two, it seems. Then that's a real challenger. That's a real challenge. I did want to. Oh, sorry. Let you guys go.
Sorry, I was just gonna say I do feel like with Unreal though sometimes like with Arvo we've been working a lot with the Chaos Vehicle Blueprint, which has been a nightmare, and then we started a new project this week, and it's using the buoyancy and the experimental water stuff, and Chaos Vehicles has been a nightmare. The buoyancy water stuff has been really straightforward, and so I'm like, sometimes it feels like it's just some stuff is just more put together.
That may be the case.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is you saying you're using buoyancy systems to move the car around?
No, so we started a new project, which is setting is sort of you're on a boat in the ocean, and yeah, playing around with like actual uses for buoyancy. Although it has made me tempted to see if I can use buoyancy on the car because it just was so much easier.
All right, so that's kind of really interesting.
No, sorry, continue. That was it.
Yeah, no, I was just saying that's quite interesting. The other one I wanted, so as a game designer, my job involves, I get, Sam and Charlie, I mean, do you guys consider yourselves to be game designers in any way? I mean, you have both created games. I don't know, Sam, you created a game by yourself from scratch, so I don't think you had anyone else designing that with you.
I think it does involve like some lived experiences and ideas that stem from those.
Okay.
It's a hard sort of thing to put to words because it is a way of thinking, like abstract thinking, which you can have. Like going into it, I had an idea. I wanted it to be set in an office space. And I wasn't sure if it was going to be sort of like you had the stock standard sci-fi feel, which, I tried out and it didn't really feel right. So it was through a process of, evolving the idea until it felt fun for me, and then I tested it, and the feedback came back, sort of confirmed that the vision I had was working.
Okay. So you had the idea and you just basically put it together and it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Charlie? Because I don't know whether you've designed games from scratch yourself?
Yeah, well, it's funny. I actually consider myself a designer more than a programmer. I sort of went into uni originally going to the game designer course, but I kind of suspected that my journey would be a bit of a solitary one, considering I didn't know anyone who wanted to play games, and I was like, well, I'll probably need the skill to actually put my ideas together. So that's why I chose the game programming side, and I actually worked with my uni to for them to allow me to do a lot more of the design units, as well as like allowing me to get a degree in software engineering. Bit of a mess around, but to my point is I definitely I am more of a visual thinker and whatnot, and I do struggle with the small nitty gritty things where I talk to my programmer friends now who are really good at these little things, and I always need the bigger picture, larger structure of how these systems are working, which is not always easily answered. But now I feel like I'm middling a nice area. Like I'm not super great at design, nor am I super great at programming at this point, but I am getting a really solid understanding of each, which I'm pretty happy with my progress there. So if someone were to ask me if like what do I do, I just sort of like I'm a game developer. I design and I program.
Okay, that's very interesting. That's really, really interesting. Um, Fraser, I think you're going to have more to say here. As a game designer, my job involves.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's mostly just wondering why I ever think that I can scope a project appropriately. It's
You're wondering why
always
you
gets out
think
of
you
hand.
can. Oh,
Yeah.
that's a skill. That's a skill. That's a produce. That's
But
what a producer does. So
yeah,
you just need to find a good producer who sits next to you and says, slaps you on the hand, says, "No, no, we're not
yeah.
doing that. We're not doing that. No, no, we're not doing that." Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of like inflating scope at an exponential rate, a lot of concepting, analyzing, prototyping, reading. Uh, it's like summing it up. I feel like it's very much like you spend half your time directly actually working on the game, implementing changes and tweaks and working on things, and then you have to spend the other half of your time like analyzing playtest information, thinking from a player's point of view, you know, assessing if the player experience is meeting the intended one, and then also I feel like you kind of need to be consuming information and inspiration from other sources. The biggest influences on my design course has been things like wayfinding,
Yeah, you've mentioned that a
navigation
few
in real world
times.
environments.
We're going to
Yeah,
have to get you to do a little session on wayfinding because I've never looked at it, to be honest. So, yeah.
yeah. But I think it's those two halves combining. I feel like that's what my job is most of the
Mm.
time when I'm not actually just programming, which
Hmm.
takes up 80% of my total time, I think.
Programming.
Yeah,
Okay,
just
interesting.
trying to understand how to make the concept that I've thought of.
So let me throw this next one to you as well. So there are some really good tools for designing games. For example, Fraser, what are the things you use
Uh,
most? I know you do use some tools.
Miro is
Yeah.
my go-to, like an online whiteboard where I can put anything and everything. I need to be able to zoom all the way out and see everything that I've had, or zoom all the way in on something. Um, to another extent, like hack and plan can be helpful, but that's less designing and more so giving myself the time to design. Add notebooks and pens and highlighters, sticky notes,
Hmm.
chewing gum. I don't know if that counts.
Chewing gum? What do you do with chewing gum?
I chew it so that I don't think about getting up and making myself food, and I can focus.
Oh, okay. Chewing gum? Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, and otherwise, I think inspiration
Hmm.
is another really important thing. I'm trying to. I have a shocking memory, so I'm trying to write more when I play games. I should be doing it more than I am. Um, and things like PureRef, really handy for collating visual inspiration.
Pure
And
ref.
then
What's
yeah,
what's that?
books. PureRef, it's a. I don't know. Do you guys use PureRef? Do you have a
Yeah,
good
it's
way
just
to
like a
describe it?
little like overlay box that you can have and display anywhere on your computer. So you can set it to, overlay something that would full screen you or whatever. And you can sort of just drag and drop images into to create mood boards, I guess.
Hmm.
Oh, okay.
It's a really good, yeah, it's just a really simple and nice tool to especially when you're trying to reference something and you're like your drawings, or
Right.
you're trying to match a specific vibe. You can just have it overlaid on your screen up somewhere, and yeah,
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's
When
one
I'm
I haven't
doing
simple
come
and
like
across.
effective.
Yeah.
vibey things, I really enjoy getting as many images as I can, laying them all out in PureRef, and then I was sort of like a sort of word cloud. I'll have a few key words, and then I'll sort of shift the images to sort of float in between there, depending on where they fit. And it's a good way to sort of, it's not just one for one visual inspiration, but it's also like uh, almost like a train of thought, or like a good way to be like, oh, if I've got like this aspect, maybe it's like a graffiti style gameplay mechanic, what kind of fits with that? And then I can look at environmental stuff, or I can look at, fashion, or I can look at other mechanics which are similar depending on what I need inspiration for.
Are we still talking about pure ref?
Yeah, I use it as that sort of organizing tool. It's kind of like if I was in an office space, I guess I would just have a printer and scissors and then like a pinup board, but
Right.
save paper, I suppose.
Can we? Can I get you to do us a demo of pure ref in the next couple of weeks or so?
Yeah,
I've never
sure.
seen it. So it sounds fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, what I love is you can right click and see all the different boards you have saved, so I can
Oh,
even
right.
show some of the boards I've made before for things.
Yeah. Well, let's do it maybe next week. That'd be really
Yeah,
good.
sure.
I'd really like to see that. Yeah, I've never come across that. There you go. I'm glad I put that question down. So some really good. So this is the thing. Like, we don't talk about this very much, even in the course. Like, what are the tools that we should be using?
Yeah, that was one I think I picked up from one of the 3D design classes, because they
Interesting.
can
Okay.
use it for obviously inspo, but also you can like half opacity it and lay it over your screen, and it can just stay there. Like you can pin it to the top, so
Okay.
it's a really versatile tool.
All right. Well, yeah. If you can do a demo next week, that'd be really good. I might start using that as well.
Yeah.
Cool. So I do want to throw it to Sam and Charlie. Good tools for designing games. You guys have anything we haven't talked about so far?
My brain. I guess I'm really old school with mine. I just write thoughts out when I sort of hone in on an idea. I will just
So like
write and write and write and write.
this kind of the
It,
yeah, and a pen.
yes, yeah.
It's always sitting
Exactly.
here. This is always sitting here for me.
It does get hard because then I need to go through and then manage thoughts and then piece things together. But
Of course.
I really should be using better tools, but I just use like Google Docs a whole lot.
Google
Google
Docs.
Sheets.
Yeah.
It's accessible from all my devices when I have a thought or if I need to like work on a mechanic or something. It's all there.
Yep.
Agree.
Do you know
I'm still trying to piece together my tool set of what I actually use, but that's just what I fall back on a lot.
Cool. Sam, do you use anything particular that we haven't talked about?
Well, similar to Charlie, I just have a notepad to the right of my desk, which has all the programming problems I've got and where I jot down all my ideas. Apart from that, it's usually, going for walks, having ideas in the shower, and sometimes drives around just to have the weird abstract thoughts just come into my head, and if they're still with me when I get home, it's like write it down.
I
Yeah,
agree
I
with
read
that one. Yeah, and my boss never agreed with me. I've got to go for a walk to solve this problem. Get back to your desk and keep working. Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the challenges. Cool. That's actually really good. That's a really interesting question to ask. We want just those tools. So the next one's a little controversial. Studying game design is really useful for getting into the games industry.
Is it?
Silence.
Can anyone?
Silence. Absolute silence.
Did I do something wrong? Is it? Did I miss my
Well,
chance?
like it's like what does that mean? I guess it's sort of framed as the same. Programming skills are more important than game design kind of area.
Well, it's along those lines, but I guess this is another one that I hear as well. Is like it's pointless to study game design, particularly game design. I hear this again and again and again, and it's like, but again, mostly from you can sort of hardcore coders, I guess, but sort of saying that game design, is a waste of time. But look, to be honest, I do know many students who have graduated with game design skills from game design courses who cannot find work. So, to be fair,
There was the IGEA summit not that long ago, and one of the speakers was saying, I think it really does come down to the individual. Like if you're a hotshot game designer and you can demonstrate to employers that you are you know how to generate good ideas and you know how to sort of execute them to pitch.
Hang on, this is the guy who was telling me that the ideas guy was the worst game design guy. Hang on, what are you talking about? Just ideas? Don't you? How do you demonstrate that you're a good game designer?
Well, by prototyping and
Here we go. Prototyping. Yeah.
and you know, being able to show off your ideas to people
Mm-hmm.
who, you know, can evaluate and see if they're any good or not.
So, I mean, to me, it kind of comes back to this one about the tools, because you've got to have something to show. If you're going for a job, it's like, well, I just have good ideas. Like, wow, okay, yeah, that's great to hear. But you want to show them that you can put together those ideas in a form that can then be translated into an actual game, isn't it? So in some way, or prototypes as well, to create prototypes, which really, I don't know that you can really do prototypes without some kind of scripting. Visual scripting is absolutely fine, but if you want to create prototypes, you do need to have some coding skills, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I could have created anything that I've made without having those skills and that sort of familiarity.
I mean, I think you probably. I mean, how many other students that graduated with you can also do blueprints, Fraser?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, in the personal group that I worked with, I think it's just me and Gemma. Not to say, I think if you're serious about design, it's not that you can't pick it up. It's just, and I think one of the issues I found studying game design, on one half, it feels like the course kind of only got so far as, oh yeah, this is the game design course, and a lot of the units were just ripped from other courses to try and make up the full one. There's sort of a lack of an understanding of what game design is, let alone how we can teach it. But also then, sort of counter to that, there was a lot of this weird push of like, oh, you need to have a programmer in your team. And it's like, okay, well, there's 3 programmers in a class of 20.
Yes.
There's literally not enough to go around. So
having this exact problem right at the moment in one of my classes.
And I'm like, I don't understand. Like, it's so clear to me now. On the other side of it, it's like, oh, having those basic programming skills in like visual scripting or whatever is so handy to have as a designer. It's weird that it wasn't pushed more. Like, we did 1 or 2 classes where you had to program, but then even then I'm like, did we, or were those electives? But I feel like, yeah, just the general attitude as well was just like counter to kind of, I think, what good advice would be.
Yes. Yeah, I must admit, some type, we probably should be pushing design students to do blueprints or some sort of visuul scripting. I think that should
come up with your own design and then actually have a go at implementing it into a game environment. It's because it's like that's going to be your bread and butter, right?
Yeah. Again, prototype. You've got to be able to come up with something, even if it's not going to be your final game. You've got to be able to show off what it is that you want your programmers to do. You may do just a basic unoptimized version of it, but then you just hand it off to your coders, and they're like, okay, that's what you want. I'll get in there. I'll do what I need to do for the optimization of it. Put it into a good. It's a good code. Yeah. So
even selfishly, like as a designer, I don't want to have to come up with a design concept, hand it off to a programmer, wait for them to bring it back to me. Like, there's waiting time there. There's also all the potential for misinterpretation. Like, selfishly, it's so much better and easier for me to do a few rounds of prototyping first and then give something that has, you've already crossed the first few pitfalls without wasting time and without getting anyone confused.
Yes.
And that's where like half the magic is for me. It's just the experimenting at the start, having an idea and go, will this work? And
Yeah.
then floundering around a bit trying to get it to work. It's a lot of fun.
Mm.
Yeah, this is a bit of a revelation for me as well. Like we're just going through this and talking about this. Like, yeah, okay, this is very true. Game designers need to have some kind of scripting ability. No two ways about it. So I might put together a course, blueprints for game designers. How's that sound?
Yeah.
Because so the
Before we
final
go off.
Blank
the
for dummies.
the final one that I thought we'd touch on, because I've put some negative stuff here, but I think it was really, I thought it was really, like, it's really important. What do they call it? Steel manning, and so those people who are saying game designers are a waste of time. I wanted to sort of really explore that. And it's like, I mean, I think maybe if you just if you study game design and you don't have any prototyping skills, maybe it is a waste of time. I don't know. I'd hate to say that, but I think having those sort of prototyping skills, those basic scripting skills, is an idea. So I mean, so if we look at with that in mind, architecture, which I think is quite similar. Obviously, architecture goes back a very long time. In fact, 500 years. No, sorry, more than that, 2,000 years. So there was the oldest architecture text is from a Roman architect in the 1st century AD, if I remember correctly. So a couple of thousand years worth of development compared to game design, which goes back to the 80s or 90s maybe. So the difference between these two, because both of them require working with engineers. So if you're an architect, you're working with a structural engineer to make sure your building doesn't fall down. If you're a game designer, you're working with software engineers who make sure your game doesn't fall apart and can be built.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's apt. It's I mean, yeah, I brought it up earlier without even knowing it was at the end of this, because I think it is a really good. There's very good analogies between the two.
What are the tools that architects use? So we're talking about things like prototyping. What are the tools that architects have at their fingertips that they use to convey their ideas?
The classic stuff is all your like miniature scale stuff, right? Or your small scale crafting stuff, glue and wooden dowels and string and plastic.
Classically, for sure, that's been around for a long time, just making little miniatures.
And that's I think there's Kojima behind the scenes stuff for Metal Gear, where Kojima was using like Lego blocks to space out rooms for like the stealth and stuff. I guess I'm not trying to find the similarities, I'm trying to find the differences.
That's all right. And blueprints as well. Don't forget, blueprints have been around for a very long time. So architectural blueprints. As well, we haven't even mentioned, obviously more recently, there's also the, oh goodness me, CAD, computer-aided design. So there's quite a lot. I mean, it's interesting how in architecture it really easy. And I'm not an architect, but I can really easily just reel these different tools off the top of my head. I can't do that for game design, and I teach game design.
I think the thinking of it as well, I find, is really similar. Like the idea of an architect, they need they care that the building is going to stand up, but they want to create something that is more than just a structure. You're trying to, embody emotion and, assist the people inside it to use it functionally. You're trying to make it pretty. And, at the end of the day, they are reliant on their team of engineers and others who can make sure what can be made reality is, and what can't doesn't get built. Yeah. And it's the same, I think, a lot of the times, or at least in a very good working relationship with game designers, where I think we mentioned it earlier, right? Like a game designer should kind of be pushing the box as far as it can, and you have to rely on your team to say, hang on, this isn't going to work, or you know what, maybe we can make this work. Let's let's figure out how to do it or how we can change it to make it fit, whether that's scope or budget or you know, software limits.
Yeah. Anyone else?
I guess I'm seeing that what you're saying is there is some distinct tools, like in this relationship of architect and engineer, there is clear tools that architects use and that's widely accepted across the discipline versus the game design side is we don't really have a centralized, a bunch of tools that we all agree on. We all use sorts of different things, and it's sort of, I guess it's less refined in that sense.
Well,
It might be because games do, every building has certain rules you need to stick to, where games are kind of a bit more abstract. I guess, the rules are you need the software and the hardware, but what happens in between is all over the place. So maybe there isn't sort of great game design tools that fits every situation.
mm-hmm. Did you want to say anything, Sam?
I mean, it's already really been covered. Like, the architects do the designing part to make like a beautiful building, but they do need the engineers who dedicate themselves to the boring stuff to make sure it's feasible.
Mm-hmm.
And the same goes for game design. The people to estimate if it'll how long it'll take and what you need to do to get to the end product.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, cool. Okay, well,
The
let me
relationship is interesting there, right? Sorry to cut you off, but
Yeah, that's
like you said, architecture's been around for thousands of years,
Mm-hmm.
and there's this really well understood relationship between the architect and the engineers, and yet they still, I feel like classically the architects still sort of get all the same similar criticisms that game designers get, even though game design is such a newer field, right?
Well, let me throw something back at you though. Like, you probably know some names of some very famous architects. Do you know the names of some the engineers who worked on those same things?
Yeah. No, not at all. I couldn't name a single, honestly.
You probably also know some very famous game designers. Do you know the programmers, the engineers who helped them out? Who's Kojima's chief engineer?
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't name an engineer, that's for sure.
Kind of interesting. There's a bit of a strange dichotomy there with the creative world. So it's like if you succeed, you do really well. It's like you get your household name. If you don't, tough luck. I mean, you don't have a job.